Good morning and welcome to Unity. This is a place where we know and we practice the spiritual truth that God is good and all is well. We are waking up to the truth of our being, and we are learning how to put that awakening to work in the world to make a positive difference, to actually transform the world so that it works better for everyone. So that's what we're doing here at Unity. I'm Reverend Marla Mason, and I am blessed to serve as your minister and grateful to be with you all this morning. I would like to let you know that our annual theme that we are working on all year long is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And the idea is, how do we anchor ourselves in the timeless wisdom in which our teaching is founded? And in fact, the timeless wisdom in which many teachings are founded. How do we anchor ourselves in those spiritual principles and spiritual truths such that we can live into an evolutionary vision, that vision of a world that works for all? So that's what we're up to all year. In the month of February, we are talking about One Journey, Many Paths. We are talking about the journey to knowing the divine more and more intimately by experiencing it rather than thinking about it. Sometimes we get real heady, and what we want to do is get in touch with those principles, with those truths that transcend any spiritual path and are the actual access to the divinity that we are. Today, we're talking about our journey to freedom. What is the journey to freedom? And what you're going to know by the end of the day here is my belief is that the journey to freedom is the journey to a consciousness of oneness. So that's what we're talking about today. I am serving as your minister, but I'm not the only one who makes all of this wonderful stuff happen on Sunday mornings. Today we have Jennifer Holt and Lynn Zeller as our prayer chaplains. Thank you. They'll be available at the end of the service to pray with you. We also have Jean Palmatier as our board host today. Thank you, Jean, for serving in that beautiful way. Monica McDowell-Elvig will be giving our announcements a little bit later, and she is also our center administrator. She holds a lot of things together around here, and our producer this morning. So thank you, Monica. Finally, I want to introduce Becca Palm, our music director. Most of you know that this is Becca's last day with us as our music director. For the past 2.5 years here at Unity, and for several years before that at another center I was at, Becca has blessed us so deeply with her presence, with her music, with her loving heart. And so we want to make sure that we are blessing and acknowledging her today and all the gifts that she has brought to our community. She's providing our music this morning, and I know that she will open our hearts with her beautiful gifts, even as we will bless her with our acknowledgements and thanks. So Becca, you have some music for us this morning.
I do. Thank you, Reverend Marla. Good morning, beloveds. So I thought I'd start out with something where if you were inclined, you might sing along your part as you feel inspired. Na 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 na, na 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 na. We are one big family. You'll know how it goes. And just to make it a little bit fun, I created some drums and bass to just go with us. Who will we be when we can't see? We are one big family, peaceful and free. Can you see? I am you and you are me. Na 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 na, na 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 na. We are one big family. Na 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 na, na 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 na. We are one big family. Our destination is no separation. We are one big family. We give up our fear, we know it's all here. We are one big family. Here you go. na 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 na. We are one big family. Na 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 na. We are one big family. Oh. Alright, here we go. Na 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 na. I see you singing. We are one big family. You know it's true. Na 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 na. We are one big family. Can you feel it? Na 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 na. We are one big family. Na 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 na. Keep it going for me, because I'm gonna sing over you. Who will we be when we can see? Peaceful and free, can you see? Our destination is no separation. We are one big family, so we give up our fear. We know it's all here. One big family. Oh yeah, we are. You know it's true. No matter where we are, no matter what we do. Oh, you know it's true. Oh, we are one big family.
Monica, can we have a gallery view?
We do.
Nice. Let's turn within as we give thanks for the beautiful music, the beautiful human being that has provided this music to us. We recognize that there is an infinite oneness, an infinite consciousness from which all things, all people, all beings have sprung. And we lift ourselves in our conscious awareness of this truth, the oneness of the universe right where we are. We cannot be separate from it, for there is only one life, one being, one energy, one presence. And so it must be right where we are. And so it's in this consciousness of unity and oneness that I give thanks for the opportunity to come together in spiritual community, to deepen, to grow, to open our hearts, to celebrate and to honor those who have blessed us. I give thanks that God is good and that we are living the life that God would have us live. I give thanks for all that is about to unfold, and I know that we are present to the unfolding in a loving God consciousness. I am so very grateful, and I open this gathering giving thanks, and giving more thanks. And so it is. Amen. I'm going to read through the affirmation once. And I invite you, as you hear these words, to just open your mind, open your heart, open yourself to the possibility that these words are already true for you. So, listening carefully, I am open to the promise of a clean slate, which every moment holds. With trust, joy, and delight, I am free to let God be God in me, and so it is. And I invite you now to speak these words with me with conviction, because we know it is already true for you. Joining me, I am open to the promise of a clean slate, which every moment holds. With trust, joy, and delight, I am free to let God be God in me.
Free to live in the fullness of the Spirit. always for us, guiding, touching, teaching us. We're completely free. Sometimes our minds get so burdened by mistakes we made before that we can't see to forgive ourselves, so we can just start over. And sometimes we want to hear I'm sorry so that we can feel complete. Instead, let's see the divine inside along with everyone we meet. We're free to live in the fullness of the Spirit, boldly moving forward, and everywhere we go, we're free to know life is always for us. It's guiding, serving, teaching us. We're completely free. Yes, we know that life is a mirror. It reflects the thoughts we see. So let's release all those false beliefs until we can clearly be only pure love and true kindness, the only way to live. We don't need to forgive anymore. There's really no one to forgive. Oh, we're free to live in the fullness of the Spirit, boldly moving forward, everywhere we go. We're free to live, to know that life is always for us. It's guiding and serving and teaching us. We're completely free. Oh, yes, we are. Because we tell the truth. Oh, yes, we're free to love and live. Ooh, we're completely free.
Let's give Becca a little more love. Hold up your sign if you have one. And if you didn't get the heads up for the sign, it's not too late to make yours right now, because you're going to get to have another 1 or 2 chances to hold up your sign so that Becca can truly have a visual of what it means to be appreciated by a virtual community. And what we'll do is we'll gather these when we're complete, and we will put them into a little package so that Becca can look at every single one of them. We'll make sure that she gets your sign and your message so that she can truly enjoy those at her leisure. So let Becca know how much you appreciate her by writing her a little message. And then after a little bit later in our service, you'll have a chance to show it off again. All right. Thanks, everybody.
I
We're
feel
free
your
to-
love, community. I really do.
Yep. So, thank you, Becca. We're free to live in the fullness of the Spirit. We're free to live in the truth of who and whose we are. We're free to live the life that God would have us live. So why don't we do it? I know that I don't always live into the fullness of the Spirit. I know that I don't always live the life that I believe God would have me live, because I get too tied up in the things that don't really matter. But my intention is to grow into the experience of the complete freedom to be who I am, to be what I am, to be aware of the spiritual emanation that I already am. And the challenge with having to grow into that is it's a journey. And here's the thing about a journey: sometimes the journey gets old. I don't know about you. Sometimes I just want to lay on the sofa and read a book and pretend I'm spiritually enlightened. Sometimes that seems easier than the trip I am on. But the journey that we are on, no matter what we are talking about, the journey that we are on is an evolution or a path, if you will, from one state of consciousness to another state of consciousness. One state of consciousness, one state of a consciousness of love to another state of consciousness of love, hopefully a higher and more expanded state. In fact, I would say that it has to be, because evolution is always going to be upward. Evolution is always going to be toward greater expression. So today's example that we are talking about is freedom. What is freedom? And how do we walk the path of expressing freedom at one level of consciousness, or from one state of consciousness to embodying that new state such that we experience and express more and more freedom in the world? That is, what I mean by that is that we move from a consciousness of lack and limitation and bondage and I can't and I'm bound to I am free to be the fullness of the Spirit. I am free to be that which God would have me be. And so let's start by talking about what is freedom, really. I think a lot of us have a lot of ideas about what freedom is. And you know me, I always start at the dictionary and then I think about what that really means. What I first looked up was the word free, because I know that's the root to freedom, right? Free means that I am able to do something at will. I am at liberty to do something. That's all it means. I'm free to do something. I am at liberty to do whatever I want, whenever I want. That's all it means. And here's an interesting thing about the word free. Its root word seems to be related to friend. Friend. Now, why would that be? It seems that back in the darknesses of language evolution, in a number of languages, the word for friend evolved into the word free, because when you were talking about free, you were talking about a member of your own clan, that is, not someone who was enslaved. Free and friend share the same root because at some point in history, if you were free, you were part of my clan. I was not enslaving you. You were my friend. And so I set you free. I didn't set you free. I saw you as free, at liberty to do what you would do. I think that's pretty interesting, because the word has its root in the idea of duality. And what we're going to be talking about today is the consciousness of freedom requires that we move into a consciousness of oneness. But we'll get to that in a minute. So if free means I am at will or at liberty to do what I would like to do when I want to do it, freedom is that state of being free. It is that state of being at liberty. And it says in the dictionary, as opposed to confinement. Does anybody ever feel even a little bit confined in their life? Or do you feel pretty much at liberty to do and be all that you want to do and be? I know that sometimes I get this false idea that I am limited in some way. And what I think is happening is our entire spiritual quest is about moving away from the freedom from things. It's the things, it's fear, it's pain, it's limitation, it's uncertainty. Those are the things that push us. Those are the things that kind of stand at our mental and emotional backs and push us. There must be something more. I am not in an experience of freedom. I'm in an experience of pain, of limitation, of sickness, of lack. And there must be something more. How many of you got started on the spiritual path out of a place of at least discomfort and maybe complete pain. I know that was for me. I was just like, I felt lost, I felt uncertain, I felt alone. And I felt like that somehow the universe had something more for me. And this the pain and the uncertainty and the fear was pushing me in the back, saying, yes, it's true. This suspicion that you have that there is something more is absolutely right. You don't know what it is. I wouldn't have even been able to put these words on it at the time, but some part of me knew that moving forward on the conscious spiritual path was going to be a journey that would take me at least away a little bit from where I was. And so the spiritual quest becomes about freedom from fear, freedom from pain, freedom from uncertainty, freedom from sickness, freedom from lack, and into the freedom to live joyfully, toward the freedom to express my gifts, to love easily, without reservation, to express more and more of the divinity that I am. You see, this is my true nature. My true nature is joy, love, peace, grace. This is my beingness, my true nature. And I want the freedom to express my true nature, my God nature. And that's what was calling me out there somewhere. When the pain and the lack and the limitation was pushing on me, something out there was calling me. The universal call to know that I can live. I am free to live in the fullness of the spirit, in the freeness, in the fullness of joy, in the fullness of truth, in the fullness of my true spiritual nature. It's the entire spiritual quest, isn't it? We want to experience more freedom. And yet here we are, not free. Darn that journey. Let me put it this way. I'm more free than I was 20 years ago. And 10 years ago, I was more free than I was 10 years before that. And today I'm more free than I was 10 years ago. And tomorrow I'll be more free than I am today, because my spiritual path is calling me to embody a consciousness of freedom. My spiritual path is calling me to release any belief in lack, limitation, duality, any of those things, and embody a greater consciousness of freedom. And what is the consciousness of freedom that we want to embody? What is it that is calling us? And I dare say, what lifts us into a greater consciousness of anything is a root consciousness, if you will. There is a foundational teaching to our teaching, and some of you I know already know what I'm going to say. The foundational teaching is the name of our center, unity. The foundational teaching is there is an infinite oneness. There is an infinite presence. There is an energetic a beingness, a life. In Old Hebrew, one of the names for God was the living one. That's actually my favorite name for God. The capital L, capital T, the capital L, living, capital O, one. The living one. We have our beingness in the living one. And it's only one. And it looks like all of this stuff all over the place, but there is one fundamental energy underlying everything that we see, feel, hear, touch, and taste. Everything that looks like duality, everything that looks like a human experience. And we don't deny the human experience, right? Because we're in our human bodies. We are having a human experience in a human body, and we don't deny that experience, and we don't deny the seeming, the appearance of duality. What we deny is that the duality really is a duality. It's an appearance. There is a oneness underlying all things. And as we embody that consciousness, we become more and more and more free. We become more and more and more love. We become more and more and more peace. the principle of unity and oneness is the principle that underlies the consciousness that underlies the expression of any other quality of the infinite. And freedom is a quality of the infinite, isn't it? And so we can think of our consciousness of oneness as an emancipator. Our consciousness of oneness is what sets us free, because our consciousness of oneness is truth. And we will know the truth, and the truth will set us free. What? The consciousness of oneness is the emancipator of our own souls. That is what will set us free. And so we practice, we center, we come to meditation, we take classes, we engage in spiritual practice, we pray, we do all of these things that call us into a deeper experience of oneness. And as we embody that experience, as we embody that consciousness, it sets us free from believing that that realm of duality has any power over us. You see, when we give the realm of duality power, absolutely, it keeps us in bondage, no question. No question. But what happens is it keeps us in bondage because we believe in it, and it is done unto us as we believe. When I give power to the realm of duality, when I say, oh, I'm dependent on somebody else for my good, or there's not enough love, because see, I have evidence here in the realm of duality, and I'm forgetting that the living one is the energy of love, and that love is everywhere, and I can't get away from it. When I allow myself to camp out in the land of seeming duality, there's not enough time. How many of you do that? There's not enough time. Well, there's an infinite amount of time in the mind and in the heart of God. But I find myself in bondage to time when I affirm and I believe that there is God and the management of my day is outside of the mind and the body of God, then suddenly I don't have enough time. And I become divided against myself. I forget that there's only one thing happening. Excuse me. The time thing is actually one of my things that I have such a difficult, I'm going to not do that affirmation. I have an interesting time remembering that there is no time in God. If there's no time in God, then everything is happening in its own right time here in the realm of duality. And it's so interesting for me to think about, if there's no time in God, then isn't there plenty of human time to accomplish all that ought to be done by me? And that's one of my most powerful affirmations. I use it a lot. Time expands to meet every desire of my heart. Time expands such that I accomplish everything that ought to be done by me. And I begin to unify with that idea of oneness and unity. There's only one life. It is an energy. And I become free to have a different relationship with time, to live into a fullness of the spirit type relationship with time. I free myself from the bondage, the consciousness of duality, and allow myself to step boldly into an experience of freedom. Here's the challenge with this. If I'm on this consciousness journey toward oneness, such that I may become a greater expression of freedom, I must be responsible for my own experience of life. If I don't take responsibility for how I experience things, what I've done is I've swapped one form of bondage for another. I've just traded and said, instead of being bound to lack and limitation. Now I'm going to be bound to the outcomes of my attempts to express freedom. For example, you know, we have the cabin on the lake, right? And when we go there in the summer, I need to put sunscreen on when I go swimming. I am free to not put sunscreen on. I don't have to do that. I can decide I am not going to be responsible for how I experience life, and I can go swimming out in the lake all day long with no sunscreen on. There will be an outcome for which I am responsible because I did not take responsibility. I'm free to not recycle. I'm free to dump my garbage out of my car on the street. I'm free to gossip with people. I'm free to not wear a mask. I'm free to do all kind of things. And there will be related outcomes if I am not expressing my freedom responsibly. If I swim without sunscreen, I'm going to get burned. If I don't recycle or I dump my trash on the street, the planet's not going to be a pretty place to live. If I choose to not wear a mask, I can either I'm either going to get, I have a higher potential for getting sick or for making somebody else sick. If I'm going to gossip, I'm going to be spreading the energy that I don't want to have come back on me. So do you see how if I'm not willing to take responsibility for how I express my freedom, I find myself, let's put it this way, how I express my freedom impacts others as well as myself. Because I am choosing, you know, anything we do, it's coming from a place in consciousness, right? And if I am expressing my freedom from a place in consciousness that takes no responsibility, the universe knows that. And, you know, it's done unto me as I believe. It comes back on me. That's the way the universe works. That's the fundamental law of things. So I have to take responsibility for how I express my freedom. Otherwise, I'm just trading one form of bondage for another. So I take responsibility to be, to express my freedom in such a way that my freedom enhances the freedom of others. The way I choose to express freely in the world enhances the freedom of the others. I put my recycling in the bin. I put my trash in the appropriate places. I don't spread rumors and gossip. I wear a mask. I put on sunscreen. I take on responsibility, ensuring that I am expressing my freedom in a way that enhances the freedom of others. And in that way, I become a cause for good in the world. And then I experience more good in the world, right? Because it is done unto us as we believe, it is done unto us as we live. I am embodying that consciousness of unity as I walk in the fullness of my expression of freedom. So we take responsibility for everything that happens in our life. But what? Everything? Yeah. Even the stuff we're not really responsible for. Because you know what, there's stuff that happens in our lives we're not really responsible for, right? You know, I got in a pretty bad car accident once. I mean, I was driving safely, right? Even the insurance company agreed with me. And it had some impact on my life. But you know, I can't fully transcend that experience until I take responsibility for it, until I ask myself, what is this about for me? What am I to learn from this experience? And do you see how that's a whole different way of being with something like a car accident than damn them for hitting me, how dare they? I'm going to just hold on to my resentment and my anger about that. And that's going to come back to bite me in a way that's different from, wow, so this guy was driving irresponsibly and it hurt me. Wow, okay, I can be angry with him for a time and then I got to let it go and ask myself, what is mine to know here? I take responsibility for how I experience my life. What is mine to learn? And it doesn't matter if it's my fault or his fault. I take responsibility for it anyway, because that is how I transcend lack and limitation and become free to live into all that God would have me be. It is how I use the spiritual journey as a path. See, it's all a spiritual journey. We're all on a spiritual journey, right? I mean, some of us are evolving and some of us are not, but we're all spiritual beings in expression. And you know what? If we're not evolving, we don't judge that either. Does that make sense? We don't judge that either, because everyone is on their right spiritual path. We are all doing the work that we are called to do at this particular time. Because I know, I mean, I can tell you, I was stuck for years. And I am really grateful for the people who did not judge me for that. They knew that when I was ready to move into a greater consciousness of oneness, I would begin to embody the freedom to step forward more fully on my path. And so we don't judge, we don't blame. There's not a good path and a bad path, a right path and a wrong path. There's just the path. And we move forward as we are ready. And we move forward by taking responsibility, not just for what we do, but also how we experience what others do. And then we step fully into the freedom of the spirit. We step fully into a state of being at liberty rather than confinement. We find ourselves available to the blessings of the universe because we have embodied a consciousness, a greater consciousness of oneness. And as we anchor in that, we release any sense of division or duality, and we recognize that this sense of oneness is setting us free. It is the emancipator, and the truth will always set us free. And so what I want to invite you to do with me now is to seal this message with a little bit of spiritual practice. Take the sacred breath with me as we recognize that something wonderful is happening here, that we are expanding in our awareness of the infinite one, the living one. That we are opening our hearts and minds, body and soul to this presence, to the awareness of this presence that always and already is. Take a moment now to ease your mind, soften your mind, ease and soften your heart, your body. As you bring to mind perhaps something that has been feeling like bondage and limitation to you. Perhaps it's a relationship, an experience. Just bring to mind something that is happening in your life right now that has felt limiting, or about which you feel a sense of uncertainty or fear or lack. And as you bring this thing to mind, just see yourself present to it, present to the situation as it is right now. You simply become alert to what is happening and willing to be in it. And as you rest in the awareness of this situation or circumstance, begin to remember your oneness with the infinite. begin to expand in your heart and mind. Your realization of your oneness with the infinite. Allow yourself to be lifted in the conscious awareness of unity. Allow yourself to know the truth of who and whose you are. And simultaneously now you rest in this infinite mind of oneness and unity. And you notice how you have been feeling in this state of fear or anxiety or lack or uncertainty. And you begin to recognize there is no fear, there is no uncertainty, there is no lack in the mind and the heart of God. I made it up. I allowed myself to become divided against myself with my false ideas that there was anything but the living one. And you rest in this awareness, you rest in your consciousness of oneness. And you ask yourself now, what is mine to learn or know right now from this experience? How am I called to grow in this experience? What is mine to know about unity and oneness in this experience? And having caught the awareness of unity and oneness, allow this consciousness to emancipate you, to set you free. For you know the truth now. You know that there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is your life now. And in this consciousness of unity lies the consciousness of complete freedom. And now give thanks for the wisdom that's been given you here. Give thanks for the freedom, for the unity that expresses so effortlessly as you. Give thanks that you have taken full responsibility for your experience of life, and you have been set free. And so it is. Amen.
God I do know that God is all there is, and I'm one. And I get to choose who I am in the middle of a less than ideal experience. And maybe there's a place in your world where something isn't ideal. I'd love for you to sing with me and know with me. And I might not be able to hear you on Zoom, but I'm a sensitive being, and I'm sure to feel you. So how about we breathe together, this community, this spiritual community, and know the truth together. God is all there is, and I am one with God. God is all there is. I am one with God. My heart is open to the full expression of this life living me. God is all there is, and I am one with God is. I am, and so I love you. I feel your love. Thank you. Is someone else
So
next? Okay, good.
this is the time of the service. My name is Jean Palmatier. I'm your board host for today. And this is the time of the service where we welcome visitors and we talk about our belief and principle in abundance, our belief in abundance and the principle and how we practice it. And I'll just take a second and say that song that Becca just played always makes me cry. So it has nothing to do with anything else, but it's just such a beautiful song. So thank you, Becca. I really appreciate it. With that said, I'd like to welcome our visitors today, if we have any. Encourage you to look around our website. We have events, we have classes, we have bookstore. There's a section that introduces the board members, and I'd encourage you to reach out to us during chat, during the services, and connect with any one of us. As soon as I'm done talking here, I'll put my own phone number in the chat, and you can reach out to me if you'd like. In addition to welcoming visitors, this part of our service, where we state our community belief that giving is a spiritual practice. This isn't an individual belief, it's a community belief. Reverend Marley today talked about freedom. How many of you have ever wanted financial freedom? Isn't that the one that comes up the most when you start thinking about freedom? Or at least it is for me. We know that our collective consciousness, how we think as a group, is cause to our experience for our community and our center. It's true that for the for the principle of abundance, both individually and collectively, we affirm that we are a thriving, monetarily healthy spiritual center. And I want to take just a couple of seconds right now and reflect, because I came onto the board about a year ago, and it was right when COVID-19 hit. And at the time, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't, maybe how are we going to be able to collect for services, all that kind of stuff. The numbers have changed. The numbers are lower than what they used to be. But we have thrived during this time. It's really amazing to me to look. There have been so many unexpected financial things that have come into our center. And we now have a line item in our budget for grace. We don't know where that's coming from, but it's going to happen, and it happened last month. So this principle works. And as we give, we grow. Reverend Marla also said that the path to freedom is a journey. One way to practice that belief that as we give, we grow is to give your financial gifts to Unity of Bellevue in whatever way you can. There are many ways to give. Just go to our website, click on give, and it shares with you the many ways that you can do that. Just a reminder, if you can, try to do a pledge if you haven't already, because that helps the board budget. That's, for all sakes and purposes, what our known incoming income is. Know that you can always change your pledge if life circumstances change. So with all that said, and knowing that we're right where we're supposed to be and our center is abundantly taken care of, please join me with conviction in the offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you.
And so I give thanks for the gifts, for the giver. I give thanks for this beautiful spiritual community through which we have the opportunity to express so profoundly. I consecrate these gifts to the expression of more and more of what God would have us be. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Monica McDowell Elvig. I'm your Center Administrator. We welcome you with open hearts. If you are visiting with us for the first time, we extend a special welcome to you. We are so grateful you are here. We invite you to consider walking with us as you journey to your own freedom. And the best way to stay in touch with us during this time, because everything is online, is to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter. You can do that on our website, unityofbellevue.org. At the bottom of every page is a sign-up form for that weekly e-newsletter. You can also go to the I'm New page on our website and click that button for a welcome packet, and I will send you a packet full of free gifts for you. So reach out. We'd love to hear from you and know who you are. Some things that are happening. First of all, today after service, we take a 3-minute break, and then the prayer chaplains are on. Jennifer and Lynn are our prayer chaplains today. If you have any prayer requests, they are happy to pray with you. You can also email them at the link. I've got all of the links and emails, everything posted in the chat and on comments on Facebook. So reach out to them if you have any prayer requests directly that way. Tomorrow night, Sisters in Spirit online, 6:30. If you are a woman or a woman identified, you are welcome. We ask you to join us. We are women supporting women on their spiritual journey. And then on Wednesday, every Wednesday at 1 p.m., we have our weekly drop-in spiritual practice group called Living What Matters. They're using the Book of Soul by Mark Nepo, a new spiritual practice every week. We'd love to have you. That is a free drop-in group. And just go to that Zoom launch page on our website to join in for that. And then today, our annual meeting at 12 noon, that is a separate Zoom link. So look for that on our launch page. If you are a member and you have not yet reaffirmed, you can do that at the link, and that will give you the ability to vote in our meeting. We ask that people who are non-members just watch on Facebook. We will be live streaming that. So if you're a member, join on Zoom. And if you are not, you can join us on our Facebook live stream for that. And then I saw a question about our videos. All of our videos you can find on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, and on our Unity of Bellevue media page. Thanks, everyone. Have a blessed week. Thank you to Becca.
As we prepare to close, everyone, I invite you to make your sign of loving gratitude for Becca, and you can either scan and email it to the center, or you could snail mail it, or you could drop it by. And we're going to put together a notebook of these things for Becca so that she can see them up close and in person. And I know that Becca did want to close with a couple of words for you before we close with our prayer for protection. Becca?
I just wanted to tell you all thank you so much for your contributions to me. I feel so blessed to have had this time with you. I just feel so loved and so grateful to have been able to share a part of my journey with you. And what I would really love is Monica put my contact information in the chat, and it's my private email and my phone. And what I'd love is, especially if you guys wrote me messages in the chat today and private ones, I would love to just have you reach out to me. I still am your spiritual community, even though I won't be with you in the future. But I would love to stay connected, and I just love you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Becca. We're grateful for you too. Let's close with the prayer for protection. Please join me with conviction as Monica brings that up on the screen. Here we go. Join me in the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a great week, everybody. And members, we'll see you at the annual meeting at noon. Bye-bye.